And our guest of honor has just arrived, Colonel Joseph Land.
Is that me?
That's you. Make sure I got you on camera. Welcome, Colonel. Go ahead.
You just stand up and introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and where you're from.
Well, my name is Joe, and welcome to this 12-step meeting. We're glad to have everybody now. It's a different environment. My name is Colonel Joseph Land. I'm the Chief of Staff of the United States Army Cadet Corps, and we are the proud keepers and the maintainers of history in Millersburg, Kentucky. We've moved our national headquarters to the historic campus of Millersburg Military Institute, and I'm proud to now call Kentucky my home. Let me introduce my sweetheart Shannon, and she's with me today, and wanted to stop by at some point, and I'm not sure if this is that point, but share with you a little bit of, for those folks that have a tie to MMI, a little bit of the things that we're doing out there, and really for those of us that have had the title cadet at some point in our lives, some of the things that are happening in cadetting across the nation. We just had 452 young men and women come through our campus this summer. It's been an extraordinary summer, and I'd like to share a little bit about that, but whenever the time is right, then I'd be more than happy to.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, I guess the time is right. Okay. Well, by way of a quick introduction, my career in uniform began 33 years ago when I was a young cadet, and then I ultimately joined the Navy to get away from the cold weather of Chicago. My first cruise was the Arctic Circle. My second duty station was Keflavik, Iceland. The Navy thing didn't do me so well. After 10 years on active duty in the world's greatest Navy, my body broke down. They said, go home, and I said, aye, sir, and the rest was history. Since then, in my civilian life, I'm the president of a company called Liberty Communications, where I provide training services to government employees across the country. And I am one of a number of what we call non-paid professionals, fancy term for volunteers, who work with young men and women 12 through 18 who are cadets in the U.S. Army Cadet Corps. The Army Cadet Corps conducts career exploration training programs for young men and women 12 through 18 who must be crime-free, drug-free, doing well in school. And we were conducting our summer training last year at Fort A.P. Hill in Virginia. My lieutenant, the aide-de-camp of the commanding general, Brigadier General Charles Tourneau, and he sends his respects. The aide-de-camp of the commanding general was tooling around on the internet, as many 20-somethings would do all day long. And he says to my boss, hey, sir, I'd like to buy a military school. There's one for sale on eBay. And my boss, being the somewhat occasionally grumpy general he can be, as I'm trying to aspire to become, says, oh, hush, Lieutenant, there's not a military school for sale on eBay. Oh, yes, sir, really, there is. So the next thing you know, we're all Googling Millersburg, Kentucky. Where the heck is this place? Well, my deputy chief for training says, hey, boss, it's in Bourbon County, can't be all bad. And pretty much the rest is history. We did a reconnaissance visit, did our due diligence, learned more about the facility. And for us, we were just looking at a 20-acre, 18-acre, 6-building facility. Little did we know, and there's obviously some familiar faces that have been out there in the last year or so, little did we know that we would not only be purchasing a plant, a facility, but we'd also become the keepers of 113 years of heritage and tradition. We are extraordinarily proud to be involved with maintaining the military presence in Millersburg, Kentucky. As I'm sure you all know, as MMI came to its final days, it was the official military school of the Commonwealth, and for that to kind of come off the books and fade into history would be a very sad, sad thing. So while we were just going into a real estate transaction, it became more of an emotional tie to our new home. Since then, on September 5th, 2008, we signed papers and we became the proud parents of the historic campus. And I tell folks, somewhat jokingly, but although it's true, a year ago I didn't know where Millersburg, Kentucky was. Now we own 18% of it. And a pretty big deal. Since then, that September 5th, we started pushing brooms. And whether you've been out there or not, you may or may not know that unfortunately those with a little bit less honor and integrity had pretty well scoured through the place and stolen all the copper and taken all the electrical outlets, and anything they could steal, they had stolen. For those that are familiar with Allen House, the beautiful rail going upstairs, gone. Everything's gone. Excuse me. All right. And Well, if someone taps me on the shoulder, that means to shut up. I thought that was my cue. That or she just kind of nudges me. All right, are you done yet?
How many cadets will you have there?
Well, to kind of explain where we are, and let me kind of give you the rest of the bigger picture, and I'll explain kind of where we're headed with all this. We cleaned the place up. We made it functional, and say again? Oh, certainly the facility did, and we spent the first 45 days just getting the water to flow and the electricity to come on, because again, literally everything was stolen. And it was something out of a, almost like a Stephen King movie. It was like everybody had just disappeared. There was personal pictures on the desks. There were uniforms still in the lockers. There was beef stew on the stove 2.5 years later. Not pretty, not pretty. We cleaned the place up and really focused on the exterior, got the basic utilities functional, and as some folks know, Tom, David, I'm not sure if anyone else was here, but in April of this past year, we, of the U.S. Army Cadet Corps, celebrated the 100th year lineage of our program, and we had the first parade of cadets. We had a military ball that will be an annual event, and part of the reason why I'm here is I'd like to invite anyone from the Commonwealth or driving distance to the Commonwealth to come join us in April as we celebrate the history and traditions of not just our program, but also military schools in Kentucky.
Dick just said he had a great time at the ball.
It was a great time. We really did. We had an incredible evening. What we started to do, I won't take too much of your time, but what we started to do is as we were kind of moving into Millersburg, we learned of the so-called Sunday Parade of Cadets, where y'all would march down, go to church, march back. Folks would wave, hey, glad you're here, and show their pride. So we said, this is home now. Let's do that. So we figured as we were celebrating our 100th anniversary, we'd have all of our cadets that were coming in for the anniversary, and we'd march down. Well, then another group said, hey, can we join you? Oh, sure, why not? Another group said, hey, can we join you? Yeah, sure, why not? Well, folks, we had 32 units in that parade. I think it was the largest gathering to march through the town in, if not ever, then in a very, very long time. And we had an extraordinary parade of cadets. With that said, in answering your question, sir, the difference between our program and the traditional military school is we are a training center. And as a training center, we provide training opportunities during the summer and then in outlying units across the nation. So our cadets train like a guardsman or reservist 1 week in a month. Then they'll come to Millersburg for 2, 4, or 6 weeks during the summer for training. And on top of that, we're also partnering with the National Honor Guard Academy, the Kentucky State Police, a number of other organizations. And we are actually in a position to host reunions and such. And it's really bringing some new life into beautiful downtown Millersburg. So this year we had in our 6 weeks of training, and frankly it was a God's miracle that we moved the mountain enough to be able to be functional this year. We had 452 young men and women from 32 states and 7 countries come to the Commonwealth of Kentucky and learn the basics of military life. All of our young people must be crime-free, drug-free, doing well in school. They have to want to be there. Our Corps' motto is hardcore out the door. If you don't want to be here, go home. So we don't deal with delinquents. Okay? I figured y'all like that.
The same way.
Okay.